Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Kabelo Sintsumedi. I am a technical consultant for CCS. It is my pleasure to present this webinar to you. Today, we will be discussing the Candy Subcontract Manager. This webinar is aimed at giving you a better insight on how the Candy Subcontract Manager works. I will aim to keep the webinar within the allowed time frame of approximately 1 hour. Due to the large number of people logged into this webinar, we will not be able to answer any questions during the presentation. However, please submit your questions during the webinar with the provided function on screen. Afterwards, we will collate these questions and send the answers to everyone that is registered for this webinar via email. Please note that the webinar will be recorded and you will receive a link to download it. We plan to host the webinar once a month on various Candy topics. Should you not be able to attend the webinar at the given time frame, then please still register for the webinar as you will automatically receive a recorded copy of the webinar. Now, without further delays, let's get started. The following topics will be covered for today's session. Section A is the introduction. How does the Subcontract Manager work? And how to create subcontractor bills. Section B is the Subcontract Progress Measure. Subcontractors' monthly quantities and updating the main valuation using the subcontractor bill. Section C is the Subcontract Manager interface. Section D is the Subcontract Payment Certificate. We will look into defining certificates templates, Subcontract Payment Certificate, set up next certificate, and to transfer payment certificate to Bossmart. Section E is the Subcontract Manager, the reports, where we look into the subcontractor liability and the report manager. And lastly, Section F, adding VO items from the Main BOQ into the subcontractor bill. Let's start first with Section A. Introduction, how does the Subcontract Manager work? And how to create subcontractor bills. I will use PowerPoint to explain and demonstrate in Candy. How does the Subcontract Manager work? The Subcontract Manager is used to define and maintain subcontractor bills for selected, nominated, domestic, and labor-only subcontractors, with the added benefit of maintaining the link to the Main BOQ. Multiple subcontractors can be allocated against BOQ items. Each subcontractor has its own awarded quantities and rates. By utilizing the Subcontract Manager fully, an accurate forecast of remaining cost can be obtained based upon the awarded rate and final awarded quantity. Creating subcontractors. Step number 1. Bill items or trades need to be identified from the Main BOQ to create subcontract packages. Step number 2, create subcontractor bills and enter their rates. New subcontracts can be entered in the Subcontract Manager and the bills populated by importing by page and trade or dragging items from the Main BOQ. This screenshot illustrates the 2 subcontract packages created in the Subcontract Manager, namely ABC Painters, XYZ Deco Painters. And both their subcontract bills will be imported from the painting trade of the Main BOQ. So the packages displayed on the Subcontractor Manager above, both of them are displayed at the bottom, ABC Painters, XYZ Deco Painters. And both these subcontractor bills were imported from the Main BOQ, and each subcontractor bill will have their own awarded rate, which is different from the net rate, or it could be the same as the net allowable rate. And each subcontractor bill, provided that they're sharing the same bills, the awarded quantities can also be split between the subcontractors. I will now go into Candy and open the Subcontract Manager. So make sure that we are under the Subcontract Manager. To open the Subcontract Manager, I can access the Subcontract Manager from the application menu, Main, or I can use the icon just below that menu, which is the Subcontract Manager. The Subcontract Manager is used to create and manage various subcontracts. And these subcontracts are bills that define the work to be carried out by a certain subcontractor. To do this, we went to the Subcontract Manager application and clicked on the icon, and to create a subcontractor package, click on New at the bottom. And the following dialog box is displayed. You can add a new subcontract in one of the following ways. Under option A, select the subcontractor from the adjudicator. This option is used to select subcontracts from the subcontract adjudicator. Option B, we can select the subcontractor package code, and this option is used to select predefined subcontract from the Subcontract Manager database. And lastly, with option C, this option is used for when we need to create a new subcontract from scratch. For the purpose of this exercise, I will use option A and C. And let's start first with option C, entering a unique code and a description for the new subcontractor. Green tick. The first package created will be displayed on the Subcontract Manager. Creating subcontract bills using the Main BOQ. To open the ABC Plaster subcontractor bill, we need to make sure that the package is highlighted, and we can click on Subcontract Bill at the bottom, or we also have an option to go and double click on the package. This bill must be populated with items from the main BOQ together with the relevant quantities. When a subcontractor is appointed, he is attached to this subcontract and his rates are entered into the subcontract bill. Any item on the main BOQ or selection of items from the main BOQ can be dragged, copied, or imported into a subcontract bill. The code for that subcontract will be displayed against the main item on the BOQ. Alternatively, entering a subcontract code against a main BOQ item will insert that item into the subcontract bill. Many subcontract codes can be entered against a BOQ item. In other words, many subcontracts can refer to the same BOQ item. Now, I'm going to open the main BOQ and show all the items under plastering trade which will be imported into this subcontractor's bill. I'll switch from the Subcontract Manager application tab and go to Valuation. Click on the blue book and open Document 8.1, BOQ with Subcontract Allocation. Close all headings and make sure that I scroll to the plastering. Right, now as you can see that the plastering trade has one item for screed, for granules, and 2 items under internal plaster. So I've got 4 items that I will be importing from the main BOQ into the subcontractor bill. Back at the subcontractor bill, to import the bill items by page and trade, I will then click on Tools, Import Bill Items, and select the first option. Under Import Options, make sure Select All Pages is ticked, and we would like to select a trade. Click on OK. And in this case, I will select P for plastering and green tick. Appropriate headings will also be imported, and the bill will follow the sequence of the items in the main BOQ. Note that the rates for subcontractors are 0. The subcontractor's rates for each item is entered as an awarded quantity. The total subcontract quantity for each item is entered as an awarded quantity. Now, to import the BOQ rates into the subcontractor bill, we have an option to right-click on the column header and select Import BOQ Rate. Now, for now, let's assume we have a subcontractor labor only for plastering items, and we have to manually type in the rates received from the plastering subcontractor That will be ABC's quotation. So I'll manually go and type in his rate, 50 for the first item, 60 for the second, 50 for the third, and 103. This was the first method, creating a subcontractor bill from scratch. Now let's have a look at creating the subcontractor bill using Subcontract Adjudicator. I'll go back to the Subcontract Manager. And just to explain the adjudicator is used at tender stage to compare quotations from various subcontractors. The subcontractor rates are then used to price the corresponding main bill items. The subcontractor's quotation in the adjudicator can also be used to create a subcontractor bill in the Subcontract Manager. Let's go and have a look at all the packages created in the adjudicator. I'll open the adjudicator. And as you can see, we've got 3 packages: sealing, tiling, and painting. Open the sealing package. And if I slightly scroll towards the right hand side, you'll see that we only have 3 quotations that were compared in the sealing package adjudicator. Note that the column highlighted in yellow is the subcontractor quotations used in pricing items in the main BOQ. Now, to know more about the subcontractor adjudicator, download the Subcontract Adjudicator webinar from the CCS website by simply typing webinars in the search column, and you can get access to all the video links of available webinars already presented. On the Subcontract Manager, I'll then click on New. And I will be choosing option A to select the subcontract from the Subcontract Adjudicator. Remember, when we open the adjudicator, these are all the packages, and below each package are a list of all the quotations that were adjudicated. And the one used in pricing the main bill items will be indicated with the word used in brackets. I'm going to select Highlander ceilings. And the package will be added. To open the subcontractor bill, I will then double click on the ceiling package. Note the subcontractor bill items have been imported using the rates quoted by Highlander Ceiling in the Subi adjudicator. In this case, we do not need to go and drag and drop items, neither go to tools and import from the bill, but everything gets imported from the adjudicator. Now, to switch between the two bills, I can use go to subcontractor tab. I'm currently on ceiling, and I can switch back to plaster. And now remember that the plastering package was imported and we manually typed in the labor only rate. Let's have a look at the comparison rate versus the awarded rate. I'll go back to the Subcontract Manager. To open any of the subcontractor's document, we need to highlight the package name, then click on the blue book, which is the Document Manager, and we're going to select Document 1.2. So I'll highlight Plaster, Blue Book, and open Document 1.2, Subcontract Variance Bill. The awarded rate is the rate paid to the subcontractor. The comparison rate displayed there is the rate that can be imported from the Main BOQ's net worksheet. It is used to compare the rate in the BOQ to the rate supplied by the subcontractor. The comparison rates can be entered manually or imported directly from the Main BOQ's net split and selling rates. And to do this, on the comparison rate column header, right click, import BOQ rate, and let me explain the first three import. Import net rate will import the complete net rates from the Main BOQ's worksheet. Import split rate will import the allowable of the selected resource type from the Main BOQ's worksheet. Import selling rate will import the complete selling rate from the Main BOQ. Well, in this case, as I've mentioned, we did only allow for labor only rate. So we will then select the split rate. This then allows us to go and select which allowable we would like to import under the comparison rate. Provided that you have priced your bill using labor only subcontractor in your worksheet, we can be able to pull the labor only allowable. Comparison rates have been imported. Click on OK. Note the variance amount column will now show both the awarded and comparison rate variances, and the variance amount is used to identify the losses and gain on subcontract items. But for this item, we still are positive, but the only item that we low is the last item, internal plaster on narrow wood. Now I'd like to indicate from the Main BOQ how the labor only portion was imported as a comparison rate. I'll then size this document to bottom half of the screen, switch to valuations, and open document 1.2, selling bill of quantities. Now that I have both the documents on a split screen, on top is my selling bill of quantity with the total rate of 88.48, and below it's my subcontractor bill. Double click on the net rate on the Main BOQ to open the worksheet, and then I'll size my worksheet to top half of the screen. Now, if you look at the worksheet on the top right hand corner, you'll see the split of my rate of 88.48 being split between the labor portion, material, as well as the subcontractor labor only of 55, which is the exact same allowable pulled into my subcontract variance bill. Right, now repeat the same step on the ceiling subcontractor's variance bill. Go to subcontractor and switch to the ceiling, which is the Highlander ceiling, without going back to the subcontract manager. Right click on the comparison rate column header, import BOQ rate, and this time I'm going to select the first option, import the whole net rate. Replace any existing, and the comparison rate has been updated. I hope everyone has a better understanding of how to create a new subcontract bill from scratch and using the adjudicator to create a subcontractor bill. Section B, subcontract progress measure, the subcontractor's monthly quantity, and how to update the main valuation using the subcontractor bill. Subcontractors' monthly quantities. The subcontractors' monthly quantities are entered to record progress and handle the subcontractor's certificate. The subcontractor submits his progress as invoiced quantity. This is evaluated and recorded as a due quantity, and the amount authorized for payment is the pay quantity. These terms are used to avoid confusion with the terms used in the main contract. The due quantity represents the actual quantity in the main BOQ, and the difference between the due and pay quantity results in the liability quantity. Subcontractor bill with progress update. The following quantities are used to measure the subcontractor's progress. Invoiced quantity. These quantities are claimed by the subcontractor. The due quantity. These quantities are measured by the main contractor. Pay quantity. These quantities are used to pay the subcontractor. Note the terms claim, actual, and paid are avoided to prevent confusion with the main contractor's progress quantities. Now, updating the main valuation using the subcontractor bill. Below are the two subcontractors packages with progress, and above it's the main BOQ. And the main BOQ, as you can see, both the subcontractors are linked to the same items. After the progress has been done on both the subcontractor bill, they will reflect under the due quantity column. on the main BOQ. And to update the main valuation's actual quantity, we then right-click on the actual quantity column header and select Update from the subcontractor due quantity. The actual quantity will be updated using the subcontractor's total due. Let us progress the plastering subcontractors package. So I'll open the Subcontract Manager. And choose the plastering contract from the Subcontract Manager. Then click on Document Manager, which is the blue book, on the application toolbar. Then open document 1.3, Subcontract Bill with Progress Update. Just to remind you of all the columns, the invoiced quantities, the quantity claimed by the subcontractor, and the due, the quantity measured by the main contractor. And the pay, the quantity used to pay the subcontractor. Progress the first two items on the plastering trade. We will get the invoice quantity from the subcontractor, 2,000 square for the first item and 100 square meters, the second item. And then the subcontractor's invoice quantity will reflect as due and paid. The main contractor will then verify the invoice quantity using the due quantity and record the quantities under the due quantity column. The pay quantity, he will then enter the quantity that he would like to pay the subcontractor. Please note that the difference between due and pay generate a liability. Then let's switch to the ceiling subcontractor bill using the Go To tab at the bottom. Select subcontractor ceiling. And let's also progress the first two items, 1,200 squares and 500 meters for the ceiling joints. Now that we've captured all the valuation information or the progress quantities for both the subcontractors, how do we then update the main valuation using these subcontractors' progress quantity? I'll then select the Valuation Application tab and open the Valuation Document Manager, the blue book. Select Document 8.2 BOQ with Subcontract Update. Now that you can see this document displays the whole entire bill, I would then suggest that we filter for the items with the subcontractor code allocation before we update the actual quantity. And as a workaround, because we do not have any filter code for Subcontract Manager, I will then right-click on the subcontractor code column header, filter for blanks. select the invert and hide the reject to show only the items with the subcontractor code allocation. Right, now displayed is only the filtered items with allocations of subcontractor code. And remember, this was a workaround that can be used using the facilities for filtering. Now the subcontractor's due quantity accumulates to the subcontractor's total due quantity in the main BOQ, which can be copied into the main bill's actual quantity. And now to update the main valuation's actual quantity, we can go and right click on the actual quantity column header, select filtered record, and then update from the subcontractor's due quantity. Quantity is copied, 9, and as you can see, the quantities are then populated for only the items with code allocation. Taking us to the end of section B. Section C is the Subcontract Manager interface. The Subcontract Manager interface has a series of tabs on the right-hand panel, and the tabs are used to input or view information that is relevant to the subcontract. The left-hand panel is a list of all the subcontracts that are being managed. The first tab is Details. This tab is used to input details pertaining to the subcontractor. The information contained in the subcontractor database will be used to populate the appropriate fields. And if the subcontractor does not exist in the subcontract database, the fields will have to be typed manually. Going back into Candy, under the Subcontract Manager, I will then start with ABC Plaster. The Details tab, as you can see towards the right hand side, every single tab is grayed out until the code has been entered. Right, now all the grayed out areas, we can now go and fill in information and access to the rest of the tabs available. Now I'll quickly fill in the details. The name, the address, the email, the registration, the VAT, and I will end off with the type of subcontractor, which is the labor only. Still under the Details tab, we've got the Subcontractor Cost Code. It's a new feature in the Subcontract Manager, which gives us the ability to report in cost and allowables against the subcontractor's accounts in brackets ledger codes without changing cost or allowables worksheets, even if there are multiple subcontractors to more than one BOQ item. This is possible by identifying the subcontractor cost code and the net worksheet. Just to explain the difference between the two, the subcontractor cost code is the code to which the payments for this subcontractor are allocated. The net worksheet code is the code of the subcontract resource in the worksheets of the current subcontract bill. Back in Candy, for plaster, I will then go and select the subcontractor cost code as well as the net worksheet. And then if I'm satisfied with the details, I can then be able to go and update the subcontractor database. Right, so that next time, should I need to use the very same subcontractor, I don't need to fill in his details. I will then use the drop down to populate his details from the database. Let's do the same for ceiling. And ceiling, we do have his information from the database. So instead of me entering the code, I'll then click on the drop-down menu, select ceiling, which is Highlander, and his information will be populated automatically. I'll then go and select the appropriate subcontractor cost code and the net worksheet cost code. The next tab is Contract. This tab is used to record contractual information pertaining to the subcontract. By clicking on the hyperlink, a list of documents is displayed as below. Documents such as the subcontract agreement, health and safety plan, etc. can be attached and accessed from here. Contract documents, signatures of acceptance, a date of signature, and the contracts are recorded. And then below is the subcontract performance guarantee. The type of guarantee, the status, the receipt, and expiry dates are recorded here. The following tab is Extras. The Extras tab is split into two sections. On top, it's extra cost, extras that are due to the subcontractor for the works not claimable by the contractor from the client. For example, painting the site offices, repainting after snagging, and etc. To record an extra, use the New button and complete the necessary information on the form that is displayed. This will enable the cost of the extra work to be posted to the correct cost and task codes. Repairs charged to others. The bottom section records extra cost that are due to the subcontractor. which are to be contra-charged to the other subcontractor. Typically, items are repairs to work damaged by others. Extras of this nature are recorded in the same manner as those to the account of the contractor, but have to be allocated to another subcontractor. Subcontract Manager automatically enters the reciprocal entry into the Charges tab of the subcontractor to be charged. This eliminates the necessity to use other documents to track the contract charges from and to subcontractors' balance. The next tab is Charges. The Charges tab is also split into two sections. The one on top is the contract charges from the main contractor. Records contract charges that are to be deducted from the subcontractor payment. Typically, items may be supply of safety heads, etc. A contract charge is recorded in exactly the same manner as an extra. We use the new button and complete the necessary information on the form that is displayed. Charges from other subcontractor. This is a no entry form which displays all the charges levied to the subcontractor from the other subcontractors in the job. The following tab, Material on Site. So a schedule of materials on site is recorded in this section. And now to add a record, we use the new button and complete the necessary information on the form that is displayed. A new schedule of materials must be entered for each certificate, as there is normally a recovery from the client for material on site. Items need to be created in the bill of quantities and claimed in the valuation. The following tab is Advance Payments. All advance payments and repayments to the contractor are recorded in this section, and payments to the subcontractor are entered as a positive amount, and repayment from the subcontractor a negative amount. The table records all entry, and the cumulative total is the total payable to date. Advance payments are normally made for the pre-purchase of materials or an agreed loan to a subcontractor, and there will be no reciprocal recovery from the client. These payments will result in overcosting, which will need to be adjusted in the cost and allowables. In the event that there is a recovery from the client, normally part of the nominated or selected subcontract agreement, an item needs to be created in the bill of quantities and claimed in the valuation. This will create an allowable and there will be no adjustment required. To add a record, use the new button and complete the necessary information on the form that is displayed. The next tab is Escalation. All payments made to the subcontractor are recorded in this section. Escalation is a manual entry. If the subcontractor is subject to any escalation, then they would insert or record the necessary adjustments. Right, please notice that I have skipped the certificates tab, as I will cover it on the next section D. Now looking at the last tab, which is values. The values tab is a summary display of the cumulative previous and current pay amounts to the subcontractor. Original subcontract value is the entry which has input field on the screen. Right, now from Candy, let us switch back to the content page. Section D, subcontract payment certificate. Defining a certificate template, subcontract payment certificate, setting up the next certificate, and how to transfer the payment certificate to Bill Smart. I'll then go back into Candy and make sure that I open the certificates tab. Now all previous and the current certificates are listed in the certificate tabs. All the information shown on this screen can be edited to reflect the progress of the payment to the subcontractor. However, the certificate number cannot be changed as it reflects the sequence of certificates and is cemented automatically when the next certificate is being set up. On the edit, this then allows us to go and put in the certificate date, and we can also type in the certificate number. The subcontractor's claim, it has been received depending on the main contractor, normally requested 5 days prior to the valuation date, and then the rest of the other dates can also be inserted. Below, it's the close and next certificate button, which is used to set up the next certificate. So when used, the to-date values will be copied to previous. So therefore, this must be done before entering the next certificate's value. The next certificates button will only apply to the current subcontractor and must be done for each individual subcontractor. Notice that on the left-hand side, we do have Show Certificates tab and Update Certificates tab, which is currently grayed out. So we need to go and define the template and also to set where we would like to store the exported information onto that Excel template certificate. Now to define standard templates, and Excel template spreadsheets are used for making subcontract certificates in the Subcontract Manager. So when a subcontract certificate is made, Candy data is stored into a copy of the template at the cells specified. You may need different templates for labor only, domestic subcontractors, and etc. The templates are designed by you and must contain the formula you require to total and subtotal, add your VETs, and etc. You need to specify which cell in the spreadsheet to write the specified data from Candy. So each subcontractor must specify a template to use when making its certificate. Now to do this, let's go to the definitions and settings, which is the blue hammer. And under 7.4, it's the template definition. Currently, we do have the CCS template 1. And notice when I highlight it, it gives me an option to edit, delete, export, import. Should I need to go and create a new one, I would then click below on a blank line and I will get an option to create a new one. Let's use the CCS certificate template, and then I'm going to edit. The following must be supplied for a template. The folder where it is to be found. So you create the template, save it in your desktop server, anywhere where you can get access of the template. And then from here, you can specify where you would locate or the folder is to be found. Secondly, the name to use when displaying the template. And on the right hand side, it's the cells where the candy data is to be written. For example, let's have a look at the subcontractor name that we've already entered under the Details tab. So information entered on the Details tab can be pulled to Excel template using the lookups that are available. This is the accumulation of all the subcontractors' data, and it's used to create the subcontractor's certificate. The export button will send the data in this list to your Excel template. The information can be mapped to your Excel template by using the rows and the columns. So I'll close the definitions and settings and back to the Subcontract Manager. And on the Subcontract Manager, I'll then click on Settings button to set where the certificates are stored for the subcontractor. The template name, it's CCS certificate. Should you have more than one template, you can be able to go and select the one that you prefer, labor only, etc. And I would like to store it on the desktop for now. Click on OK. And now note that the Update Certificate tab is now active after the folder where certificates are stored has been set. Now I'm going to click on Certificate, Update Certificate to initiate the export to Excel certificates template. Export certificates data to Excel. And as you can see, the information are populated onto that. Because the lookups have specified which rows and cell to drop and columns, the information will be dropped there. How do we then transfer the payment certificate to BillSmart? I will refer to a PowerPoint slide for this. To transfer a subcontract payment certificate to BillSmart, now importing the Candy subcontractor certificate into BillSmart, it is now possible to import a subcontractor certificate that has been prepared in Candy directly to BillSmart so that it can be posted and paid. In order to import the certificate, you must have been set up with a Candy web service username and password. If you do not have a web service username and password, this can be requested by your system administrator via the BillSmart help desk. When exporting the subcontractor certificate to BillSmart, it is important to note that the subcontractor cost code on the Details tab in the subcontractor module is the ledger code to which this item will be posted in BillSmart. Transfer the certificate. The first step is to make sure the correct contract number is set, as this will link the job with the accounting contract in BillSmart. Transfers the current subcontract payment certificate to BillSmart for processing. Now below displays the BillSmart subcontract recon. The total work done has been updated and Main BOQ has been imported. Taking us to the end of section D. Section E is the Subcontract Manager, the reports, where we look at the subcontractor liability and the report manager. A summary of all the subcontractors can be viewed in the subcontractor liability document, and the liability document displays all the subcontractors' bills value. Now, if I click on the sigma sign on the toolbar, it'll open the summary. And the subcontractor bill amount is calculated using the total due less total pay amount. This liability amount can also be imported into the cost and allowables cost import document for adjustments. That will be the last column displayed on this document. The report manager. The subcontract manager, report manager, contains a database system that looks after all reports related to the subcontract manager application. To open the report manager, I'll then click on the blue printer, and a list of all reports which can be duplicated, customized, renamed, deleted, and backed up will be displayed. Now, the first report that I'm going to display, it's the subcontract payment report. Highlight, then preview the report. I'll then save it. And preview my report. It does display my pay quantity, my awarded rate, and the pay amount. The next report, it's my subcontractor summary report, which is the exact same one that we viewed from the document, showing their liability. I'll then highlight, preview, and it will display a list of all my subcontractor, the subcontractor cost code, the pay amount, the due amount, and the difference between the two reflects the liability. Taking us to the end of section E. the last section, section F, adding VO items from the main BOQ into the subcontractor bill. I'll go back into Candy, still under the Subcontract Manager. How to add approved VOs items from the main BOQ into the subcontractor bill. Step 1, I'll open up the Document Manager. So I'll make sure that I select the ceiling subcontractor. And then open the Document Manager. And open document 2.1 BOQ with subcontract allocation. Now this document displays all the BOQ items, including the items with the subcontractor code allocation. I have customized the document and added the VO columns and the status column, which is displayed on the left-hand side. Now the quickest way to find all the VO items is to use the filter option. I'll then right-click on the variation order column header, the code, filter, variation order items, and I'll go and select all the VO items. Now any items that has been allocated with a VO code will be displayed as 2 items for ceiling. I'll then size this document to top half of my screen. Now the second step, let's open the ceiling subcontractors bill and size the document to bottom half of the screen. To do that, I'll click on the blue book and open document 1.1, the subcontractor bill. Make sure that you size the subcontractor bill to bottom half of the screen. Now that both documents are on one screen, I will demonstrate 2 methods which can be used to add the VO items or bill items into the subcontractor ceilings bill. The first method, I'll use the subcontractor code allocation. I'll then make sure on my subcontractor bill, I'll scroll right to the bottom. On the main BOQ, with the subcontractor allocation code, I will then double click on the subcontractor code for the first VO item and allocate the ceiling subcontractor. So when you double click, you get a list of all the defined package, and I would like to select ceiling. Now notice that the code has been allocated to this item. The moment I click at the subcontractor bill to make it active, it will then display the item that we have allocated a code with. The VO item will display on the subcontractor bills together with the relevant headings. The second method, I will then use the drag and drop. So from the main BOQ, I will then highlight from the record row selector anywhere on the highlighted area, click, hold, drag, and drop on the item until it says valid drop position. Notice that the item has been added on the subcontractor bill. Should I click anywhere on the main BOQ with subcontract allocation, the code will also appear against that item. Now to copy the rates from the main BOQ, we can then right click on the subcontractors awarded rates column and copy the rates from the BOQ. So I'll use the shift click just to highlight only those items from the subcontractor bill. Right click, import BOQ rates, and I'll select the net rate. Right, so note that the VO items copied into the subcontractor bill from the main BOQ will appear as VO on the BillSmart subcontractor recon once they have been progressed for the month. Before the BOQ items are copied into the subcontractor bill, please always make sure that the VO codes have been defined and allocated against those items. Taking us to the end of the webinar. I am sure you will agree with me that Candy is continuing to be the leader in estimating and project control software in the industry. Thank you for your time, and I trust you will find the Candy Subcontract Manager useful in your daily use of Candy. Please remember to email your local CCS office if you want to know more about these features. We will keep you informed of the next webinar, and remember, if you do not or you cannot join on the selected time, then please still register and you will receive the recordings which you can then watch in your own leisure or own time. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you at the next webinar. Goodbye for now.